Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the channel. I am feeling slightly better today. Actually, not even just slightly better, a hell of a lot better, which is great, because that now means that I can show you some pretty cool versions of a Rend deck for the current week's dungeon, which is Gnomeregan. The untalented deck is actually kind of crazy. We're playing Chimaera, and we're also playing Flamewaker, which is absolutely nutty. We wouldn't usually be playing those cards in any deck, let alone in the deck with no talents. But they work really well for what they're doing. And what we're going to do is show you this deck in a red level dungeon. Now, I'm going to caveat. The only reason this dungeon is red level is because I'm using Defias Bandits in no slot. The reason being I can't really slot them anywhere else. I could put them in the cycle slot, but I kind of want my Quillbore to be a higher level. So my average deck level is pulled below 23. I'm doing a level 24 dungeon, but realistically, most of my units are within one level of that dungeon, apart from Safe Pilot, which is the level of that dungeon. So I want to caveat, this is a trick that a lot of YouTubers do, and it's not an intentional trick, it's how it's worked out with the deck. That sometimes you play stuff out of slot and it drops your deck level down, but Defias Bandits are not the absolutely most crucial unit to this deck. The most crucial unit to this deck is honestly Gargoyle, but also Flamewaker, Chimaera, and these two to an extent. So, said my piece. Now I'm going to go show you the red level dungeon, but before I do, I'll tell you a little bit about why I've included certain units. Defias Bandits are a great defensive unit. Gargoyle is basically a win condition for the first boss and the second boss. And in Gnomeregan, if you get past the second boss, you can basically get yourself a free ticket to the end of the dungeon. Flamewaker, because we need a strong ground unit, and it is very good at cleaning up big groups of enemies, and you'll find on both level 1 and level 2, you've got big groups of enemies. Is also a bit of an MVP for the final boss. Rend is one of the few leaders in the game that actually finds the Gnomeregan final boss hard, because your air units don't attack the bulbs, so you need to use your ground units to attack the bulbs. So Flamewaker is really good for that sense, and obviously we're running Quillbore and Safe Pilot. Quillbore, a much needed tank against the second boss, and just Safe Pilot is generally quite useful all round. And Chimaera, alternate win condition for both boss 1 and 2, but also you can use them in conjunction with Gargoyle. The poison stacking is fantastic. That is my said piece. Let's jump into the dungeon. I've done some commentary this time instead of doing live gameplay, and hopefully it'll be much more insightful for you. So, I actually beat this in bed last night, which is why I didn't do a video on it yesterday, because it took me so long to actually find a deck that would work at the red level. So, my Rend deck is going into a red level Gnomeregan dungeon without talents. So you can see that it's red on the screen right here, which means it's at least 1 and a bit levels above my current deck. I have 3 options here. I have Parchment, which is useless with Rend because he's so expensive. We have Unstable Concoction, which is better if I'm running things like Well Pegs. And we also have Shadowforge City Commendation. Now, I'm only running 2 Blackrock units, so it's not exactly a great pick. But it is probably the best pick in terms of just providing some defensive capability for my base. Shadowforge City Commendation is the worst of all of the commendations, in my opinion, but it does provide good defense for you. Now, if a troll headhunter or a mountaineer makes it to your base, it's going to provide you, only seconds of defense rather than actually any meaningful defense. But it's better than the rest of them that I have on offer, so I'm going to take it. I am only running 2 Blackrock units, though, so that is something to be aware of. Oh, yeah, I got a crash right at the start, which is really annoying. Right, so going into Crowd Pummeler here. Right, let's talk tactics for Crowd Pummeler, because it's quite difficult to really genuinely talk tactics with Crowd Pummeler, because it's not an easy one to do. So what I would say with Crowd Pummeler is you want to be able to take this meeting stone over on the right hand side. So taking this meeting stone over on the right hand side is actually very important for Crowd Pummeler, because that is the meeting stone that's going to allow you to set up most of your attacks. You need to, as best you can, time the belts. I believe they're on a 30-second respawn timer. You need to try and pick up those belts before the enemy does. It's not that big of a deal if the enemy picks up 1 or 2 belts, but they just become annoying minis to deal with, and you usually have to wait it out before you can play any other minis. The ideal start is for me to send Flamewaker up the left-hand side to collect the belt, guarantee the chest, and then push on towards the boss. Flamewaker has got great control of this straight path here and this straight path here, especially because there's lots of AoE to deal with, like Angry Chickens, and Flamewaker can also kill off the Mountaineer. He will die to the bear, but he will actually kill off the high damage part of the Mountaineer, which is the actual hunter himself. We also want to try and contest this chest, And one of the tricks on this map is that you wait for enemies to walk through here and you just place a quill bore to retake this meeting stone. This meeting stone grants you access to both gold mines. It also means that you can launch aerial assaults like Gargoyle and Chimaera to pick up the belt and potentially deal a lot of damage to the enemy. So we're going to start and we're going to play it now. So I can see I get Flame Waker and I go straight for an attempted push here. I'm going to drop a safe pilot, although it doesn't seem like a very good trade. I'm dropping the safe pilot mostly to guarantee that I get the chest. I also take out some Defiance Bandits in the meantime. Now I can see that we're going to have a Harvest Golem, which is probably next to Griffin Rider. Harvest Golem is the most annoying unit in the game to deal with. So what have I done here? What have I dropped here? I've dropped a Gargoyle as soon as I picked up this meeting stone. The reason being is I know that this belt was about to spawn, and a Gargoyle with a belt will at least get a couple of hits in. Now, why is Gargoyle a good unit for this map? Because when he spins like this, he knocks everything away. Flying units will not get killed by being knocked off the map. Flying units will stay on the map, and they will then come back to hit him again. We're going to leave Rend over here. He gets knocked off, instantly gets killed. We're going to use the Defiance Bandits just to reset the aggro. That should allow my my Gargoyle to get away with this and kind of walk away. We're going to play Flame Waker once more down this side of the map, hoping to pick up the belt, which he does. And the reason being is that I just don't want the enemy to pick up the belt. What you'll notice is that in Gnomeregan, especially on the first boss, this guy cheats. It's like he's only got 4 cards in his entire deck. I'm going to sneeze 1 second. It's like he's only got 4 cards in his entire deck, and he seemingly can play about 3 safe pilots in a row. So it is very annoying, and if he plays a safe pilot on the chest, or on the, if he plays a safe pilot on the belt, you have a really bad time, because basically that safe pilot then walks towards your base and gets free hits in. You can see I'm going to try and use my Rend to pick up the belt again. That is again just to deny the belt from the enemy for the most part. We've taken a load of damage here, as you can see. A little bit awkward, but we do have our Defiance Bandits hopefully helping us clean house. I have to drop the Flame Waker. If I hadn't dropped the Flame Waker there, I would have lost. So we're in a little bit of a dire situation here. We use the Quill Bore to guarantee that we get the belt, because again, it's important that we pick up the belt. And that means we know in a minute we're going to get a belt spawn over on this right-hand side. Now, I have a Chimaera ready to go, who actually gets picked up by my safe pilot and my Rend. But that's okay, because these guys will get damage done guaranteed to the boss. It is now important that we just continue to pressure the boss, though. And Chimaera is actually quite a good unit for this. The reason Chimaera is a good unit for this is it stays out of the range of the spin, as you can see here. Kind of stays out of the range of the spin when you've got something just in front of it as well, which works really well to help stack up the poison. You end up getting the win. It was very close, though. We did almost lose to a Mountaineer push because we kind of missed it happening. But we survived, we made it through, and that is the most important thing. You could probably play it much better than I did. Right, so we're going to skip to... Here we go. So, we have a look at the relics that we've got. We've got Spirit Feather, Shadowblade, and the Taunt. Shadowblade's probably the best because, well, frankly, they're all terrible, so I couldn't have got a worse set of second relics, realistically. But Shadowblade's probably the best because it means that I'll just be able to sort of trade up versus certain units. And this next level is all about your defense. It's all about how hard you can defend. And this is the one that is quite difficult. Try and skip to the start. Okay, so tactics with this. It is trial and error. First and foremost, it's also a little bit luck based on where they actually spawn their minis. They will spawn their minis in different, like if you don't take an action, they will spawn their minis in different locations every single time. The ideal scenario is that you see pretty much everything sent down the middle, because it basically means you can put a good Flame Waker down, or you know that you're going to have a good, easy kind of AoE defense with one of your AoE units, right? You then want to launch a Gargoyle to the left-hand side. The best tower to take at the start of the game is the tower on the left. The reason being is that it essentially guarantees you access to that left-hand side gold mine, which is a little bit extra gold, which is really important. So you might wonder why I safe-piloted that. I safe-piloted that because there was a good opportunity to get the chest. Now, you might think, well, you've just spent 3 gold to get 2 gold, and now your safe pilot's going to die. Yes and no. I took out one of his leper gnomes. I also took out, I think it might have been, was it just a kobold that was there? But either way, I killed something else that was there. And also, it denied 2 gold from the enemy. So when you think about chests, you have to think about it as a net gain of 4 gold, technically. Because not only do you gain 2 gold, but you deny 2 gold from the enemy. So it's kind of a net gain of 4 gold, which basically means that I kind of made a +1 gold trade there, as well as taking out the leper gnome. Leper gnomes don't actually cost gold for this guy, so this doesn't really feel like you can say anything. And if it was a kobold that he also put the money on, then maybe it was a +2 gold. So it was worth it for me. The Flamemaker here, this is a bad Flamemaker placement. I should have placed Flamemaker over to the left a little bit more. It's more important that I catch the Mountaineer than it is that I catch the Bear. The Bear will keep my Flamemaker stuck here forever. If I caught the Mountaineer, it's more likely that I catch things getting spawned from this tower, and also I protect way more damage on my tower. So now that the Mountaineer is occupied, you can see I'm actually just going to send my Gargoyle straight towards that tower. Things are spawning there, by the way, as you can see. I'm going to send my Chimaera over to the left-hand side tower. Chimaera with the Quillboar tanking does take the tower, albeit very slowly. It does happen. We're going to go for an even trade on the Harvest Golem. Sorry, on the Troll there. And now we technically have 2 towers, which is very nice. Kind of a good position to be in, but it's now becomes the difficult part is actually trying to defend against this. So you can see another Mountaineer coming. We're going to use Rend in this situation just to take out the Mountaineer, and we're going to drop the Gargoyle over on the right-hand side. We ideally want to use a Quillboar like this to tank, and we're also going to use our Safe Pilot to try and protect as much as possible here. Now it will die to the Harvest Golem, but we're going to get a lot of damage in, despite the Griffin Rider being thrown there. This is a lot of damage for this stage of the game versus this boss. Now we're going to drop a Chimaera in defense. Chimaera is one of the good units here at dealing with things like Harvest Golem, because you have the stack up of the poison, and we also have the Chain Lightning, which is working out really nicely too. Now we're going to contest this chest. You really do want to be contesting this chest as much as possible. You really do need the gold to get through this level. The gold is very, very important. Now, you might wonder why I'm dropping Rend so early here. It's because I want to protect against my base getting taken down for as long as physically possible. I just want to keep that rocket tower up and going. We need it to spawn things towards the boss, and in general, it's just a very important thing to do. Now, you can see that this Griffin Rider actually outpaced my tower over here, which is really annoying because I now ended up losing this tower. But it does mean I'm going to have to make some sort of like wild defense and hopefully retake this tower as well. It is all getting a little bit tough, and this is one of the things that you will find. It can become a little tough to defend against this. It can get a little tough to get defense. Sorry, I thought I had someone talking on my Galatel. It can get a little tough to defend against this. Now we're going to take another gold here. We're going to drop the Defias Bandits in the hope of trying to potentially get some damage on the boss. We're going to drop Chimaera again. We're going to drop some gold. We know that we have enemies pushing onto our base, but this is basically an all-or-nothing play at this point. You can see that the Chimaera is just getting a bit of poison damage down. We're going to drop our Defias Bandits, which should deal with the Mountaineer, which is why I include them. They're very good. We now have the Gargoyle going. The turn speed is something you have to be aware of. The turn speed on this boss is very high, and we end up getting the final few blows when it was very close to us going down. But that is a very successful second level completion. And now we're going on to the final level. We actually lost the first fight. I'm going to kind of skip over the first one. Now, we didn't get particularly good relics either. Dark Moon Prize Wheel seems good on paper, but we also have a lot of our imported units are below 3 gold, so it doesn't really make sense. Prospector's Mitts is probably the best one here because you already mine so much gold, so you're just going to get a load of free gold, so that's what we go for. Now, we end up losing this first one, and I'm going to kind of skip to the main part that ended up causing me the most damage here. Had a really terrible defense, and actually, it wasn't the bombs that caused me problems, it's that I actually kind of forgot to defend, and so this Ogre Magi, this Prowler, and this Safe Pilot did way too much damage to my base. And because I'm not running many ground units, actually contesting the bulbs is quite difficult, and if we skip through it, you'll see that even though I got him low, we ended up losing the first one. So that's something to be aware of. You do have to defend on this, and you've got to remember that none of your air units will actually attack the bulbs. Now, Chimaera kind of can by the virtue of Chain Lightning, but it has to be lucky, and you have to be making sure that you're... Yeah, it's just lucky, basically. You can't guarantee that Chimaera will actually kill any bulbs. All right. So, for this level, because we are a very air-heavy deck, it is actually much more difficult than it would be usually. You just need to make sure that you're there to try and contest these chests. Now, Null Brute is really annoying because it does AoE swipe damage that even when it's fighting around them, it will actually end up killing off the bulbs. You also don't need to go hell for leather right at the start. A lot of what you can do at the start can just be trying to defend and trying to make sure that you set up at the back to have people that will go and take these bulbs for you. As you can see here, we lose a lot of bulbs at the start, which is not ideal. We also miss this safe pilot, so we don't get the kobold off. At this point, I thought, great, I've lost again, which would have been really annoying because I've just done the whole dungeon. So I was very much in the place where I was like, I really don't want to lose another one of these dungeons. Now, I use the quill bore to tank out the safe pilot, allow my flame waker to go. What I will say is flame waker really is absolute MVP on this map. It is fantastic. We've taken a load of bomb damage at the start, but the most important thing is that we're actually defending. The bomb damage is easier to deal with than it is to just, you know, straight up get hit by prowlers and whatever else. Flame Waker is also really nice because it doesn't die to safe pilot. We pick up a load of chests, so a load of bombs in this run round, which is nice. I want to drop a Flame Waker here if I can. I don't think I'll be able to defend against this bomb, but I'll be able to get this one with a one swipe of the Flame Waker, which I will, so that goes towards the enemy. The Flame Waker also trades positively versus Ogre Magi. Now, obviously, we see a safe pilot drop down there, but a safe pilot drop by herself is not the worst. That was terribly timed from me on the Null Brute, to be honest with you. And one of the things that is also important is if you have the option, try and go for the ones closest to the enemy, because they'll be the easiest for the enemy to get. And so if you can use your Unbound Minis to get the ones that are closest to the enemy, then you definitely should. Now, why am I using Flame Waker over on this side? It's because it trades positively versus Ogre Magi. It also can deal with these bulbs really nicely. Now, I drop a Quill Board just because I don't see any other way to deal with this Ogre Magi, and I really can't afford to take any more damage on the base. And as you can see here, Chimaera, just to defend against like things like Null Brute, and when we've got a big defense to make, we have to use the Chimaera. Now, we're getting a little lucky with these spawns, but we just need to make sure that every single bulb that we pick up goes our way at this point. It's very important that we take as many bulbs as we can, because we're not in a great spot. We have very low HP. We don't have many ground units, and like I said, it's actually quite important that we just kind of get away with getting as many bulbs as possible, which is why I committed the Defias Bandits to that one as well. We do end up getting enough bulbs at the end, and that's what happens if you can just defend your base. You just need to be aggressive with your bulb taking. Don't commit too many resources. Don't waste kobolds like I did. And then obviously just try and commit as many ground units. Flame Waker is an absolute MVP for this map, by the way. Just really good at cleaning up bulbs very quickly. Trades upwards versus most of the enemy minis. And that's why I've decided to include him. Very good for the first level, very good for the second level, and very good for the third level, realistically. Flame Waker actually has a use. Never had a use before this. So that was my no talent dungeon run. Did end up getting the level complete, and I will do a talented version as well for another video, and hopefully push slightly higher levels. But today I think I'll leave the video there at that. Hopefully it was helpful, and I will see you soon. So this is the talent deck that I'm running. Slightly different, but I still kind of want to include Chimaera as like an alternate win condition. I quite like running it with Rend, and we're running Huntress this time round because Huntress with a talent is better than Flame Waker. Flame Waker is better than Huntress without talents for this, in my opinion. But with talents, I think Huntress is better than Flame Waker. We're kind of including our well pegs because they just add an extra form of blowing up Mountaineers or blowing up Troll Spearmen or something like that. They're also very useful on the second level for blowing up towers when you need to. And so this is the deck that I'm running. Elven Might is probably the biggest thing to be concerned about. We're also running Corrosive Breath on Chimaera because the twice as much poison is really good for stacking up on the bosses. We're also running Flaming Soul on Rend because you can get a lot more value out of it on this particular dungeon. Everything's grouped up around your base a lot of the time. It can be a really good way of saving the day if it gets knocked off, etc. Going to do some commentary over the levels again to see how we go, and I'll talk you through how I went through all of them. And it's a level 25 dungeon this time, so we are up in levels again, still going up against Red. All right, I can't quite remember the relic that we took. It's either Unstable Concoction or Howling Warband. Unstable Concoction works a bit better when you're running well pegs because you can just apply it a lot more often, but it's one of the two. They're very standard. We'll find out as we go through this, and we'll jump into it. So tactically, again, similar to the Untalented run, we kind of want to get Huntress down the left-hand side to pick up the belt. She's quick. She can do it very speedily, and she'll then also get access to the chest. We're going to deny that gold from the enemy with our Quillbore. We're going to try and go for this chests with our Defias Bandits. And that should give us a pretty net positive gold advantage this early on. You're also going to see why we run well pegs here. It's just very good at dealing with Mountaineer, dealing with things like Harvest Golem as well. Yeah, okay, we're running Howling Warband. I can already tell that we're running Howling Warband. Howling Warband is also very good with well pegs because the death of the egg counts as a trigger for Howling Warband, which is fantastic. And Elven Knight allows us to one-shot safe pilots with Huntress, which is also very nice. So you're going to see here, we actually got knocked into a belt on our Chimaera, and you're going to see the Chimaera win condition. Chimaera win condition on this level, if you get the belt on the Chimaera, you stack up the poison, especially with Corrosive Breath, you can essentially deal a boatload of damage to the boss. You can see already that the boss's HP is just ticking away, ticking away, ticking away, and he's taken a load of damage already. Now, we obviously have lost control of this meeting stone area, but I can just see on the left-hand side, my Huntress is kind of going to town, doing a lot of damage, and we're basically one hit away from it being dead. And I think with Huntress with Howling Warband, finishes the job. So, quickest red level dungeon ever for that time round, and it went pretty well. All right, we're now looking into the second boss. Oh, we would be if I forgot to... Hey. Look how grumpy I look when I'm playing by myself. Wait. I'm like Half-Face from Batman. Anyway, I look really grumpy. So, it's because I'm facing the second boss of Gnomeregan. So, a couple of things that I learned, or remembered/learned, is that the Leper Gnomes are really annoying to use Unbound Minis on because they constantly put poison in the area, which means that if you drop well pegs, they will instantly blow up, which is sometimes good, depends on how close the Leper Gnome is to where you actually want to deal damage, but it also means Safe Pilot gets immediately revealed from Cloak, which is very annoying. So just kind of forgot about that, but there it is. Took a load of damage here and basically have essentially almost lost the game. But that's kind of just how this goes sometimes. You often survive that first push by the skin of your teeth. But we did end up getting the second tower on the side there with the Huntress, which is very important. Now, I used my Quillbore a little bit prematurely there. There wasn't really a reason to use my Quillbore. But we're going to use a little bit of stacking damage from the Chimaera to try and get rid of the Mountaineer. And we're going to use our Well Pegs, which instantly blow up when you place them in that poison, by the way, to just try and deal damage to that tower. Unfortunately, I'm in like a bit of a rough situation, but I do have a good opportunity to use Safe Pilot to try and gain a bit of control back, which I do. And Safe Pilot should, by herself, with the stealth, take out the remainder of this tower, which you'll see just about happen. And it's now about wresting control of that tower from the enemy, getting as many of the chests as we possibly can and just not dying. You can see I'm going to send Huntress into the poison. One of the reasons that Huntress is quite nice on this map is because she survives a long time in the poison. It's all elemental damage. And so that essentially allows her to kind of sit there and be a bit more tanky compared to usual. I'll show you the exploding well pegs once more. Basically deals with Mountaineer straight away. We have used the Quillbore to pick up this chest. And we're going to use another Safe Pilot just to take out the majority of the damage here. We don't want any range damage reaching this tower because we really want this tower to spawn, which it does. And then we will then use Defias Bandits just to stun up this, stun the Harvest Golem up, reset its aggro, and then allow my tower to survive just a little bit longer. And at this point, it is now just about how do we get damage on the boss. And that is going to be a combination of things, but it's going to be primarily about driving something towards the boss, using Quillbore to turn them around, and then essentially just stacking up as much poison as we possibly can. And you can see here, I'm just looking for an opportunity. I've actually got had my Chimaera going. We do lose that tower over on the side here. It's not an ideal situation to lose the tower this early, but it is what it is. Nothing we can do about it. We will then just use our well pegs once again to blow up. They're kind of like a good little burst damage bomb to take back things like the tower. You'll see that the well pegs will continue to defend against the Harvest Golem, which happens. And we're going to send Huntress down the mid. Now, actually, Huntress down mid is quite a nice way to guarantee damage on the boss, stops her getting caught up with any minis that spawn on the sidelines, and allows you to just get some unfettered damage onto that all-important boss. The more damage you can chip away, the better. Obviously, you have to work very hard when you're down in levels to keep control of these towers. Well pegs makes it a little easier because you can kind of just burst it back very quickly if they take it down to half HP when they get the reset. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get Chimaera onto the boss here. Chimaera would have been very useful, but we're going to use Safe Pilot. We're also going to use our Huntress just on the left-hand side this time round, mostly to deal with the what was it? There was something there that I was killing, if you guys can remember. But anyway, we have that first initial shockwave blast, followed by a long elongated laser. It will kill off the Quillbore, but with the well pegs and a Safe Pilot, we do enough damage to end up winning the day. But it's just about getting those all-important kind of Quillbore tanking chip damage moments in on this boss, and that usually is enough to end up winning you. So we go to second relic choice here. I think we took the range minis gain poison, which makes sense. We had a annoying wait 10 minutes to play the game. And here we are. So I'm going to kind of skip over this one because we ended up losing. The big reason that we lost is that we kind of overcommitted in terms of applying ground units to the game. You have to be very clever about the way that you take the bulbs, especially with Rend, because you don't have that many ground units in the deck, or you've got a lot of flying units. So it kind of makes it so that you have to be very particular with the use of your actual ground units. You can see that I committed an unbelievable amount of units to just take out a Molten Giant over there, which meant that I wasn't really left with a huge amount on the other side. But the TLDR is the big mistake that I made was here. Just let this Safe Pilot go to town on my base a little bit too much. And that put me in a pretty scary spot. And then we unfortunately just couldn't deal with this Ogre Magi that killed off a couple of these very, very important bulbs. And those last two bulbs that came in ended up basically losing me the game. I think one spawns on this side over here. I know, one Safe Pilot got the hit. So we lose that time round. And I very rarely lose this, but as Rend, it can be quite easy to do so because you're running flying units, and flying units do not attack the bulbs. So we're going to look again. This time being a little bit more conservative, fighting for the bulbs that you can fight for, and sort of ignoring the bulbs that you cannot. You also have to protect your kobold. If you're not running Dark Iron Miner, and I know that I've seen some decks that do run Dark Iron Miner, but if you're not running Dark Iron Miner, you just need to be a little careful about protecting your kobold. You only get one in a very expensive rotation of minis. We run quite an expensive deck, so when you play your kobold, you just need to be making sure that you have the units to support it. Use your Defias Bandits to take the bulbs near you as much as possible because they're very cost effective, and then use your Unbound minis to take the ones that are a little bit further away. The more of them that you can deny from the enemy over on the enemy side, the better, because they're going to be the ones that are harder for you to take in general. Little trick here, Safe Pilot can hit 2 at once, so I do. So if you land Safe Pilot down, she will take out 2 of them at once, which essentially guarantees you 2 very easy bulb hits. And the biggest problem, actually, I find the most annoying unit on this is actually the Null. The reason the Null is the most annoying is because it actually has an AoE attack. So even if you try to tank it near the bulb, it will attack. It will do, it will basically tank 2 of them. I use the Safe Pilot trick over on this side again to get 2. We don't end up getting the same one that the Wolf gets because the Prowler's just very quick, but we are going to use the Well Pegs to stop the Prowler getting to the base. The reason being is that we don't want that charge damage to the base. We're also going to use Quillbore just to stop the Safe Pilot from killing my kobold. Even though there was only 1 gold left, it's just important that kobold that kobold is protected because we want to maximize our gold output. Now, I wouldn't actually use Chimaera very much at all on this map, but it is something that can deal with the Molten Giant, so that's what I'm going to use it for in the Molten Giant. We're also going to use setup just in case a bulb spawns with this Safe Pilot over here. We obviously cannot contest the Molten Giant on that bulb, so we're not going to bother. And now it's just a case of the Ogre Magi being the biggest problem. Now, your best counter to an Ogre Magi is a Huntress, but that Ogre Magi is basically dead. I have a massive Huntress win over here as well. Huntress will just walk through and basically one-shot all of them. The Prowler also will de-aggro from the bulb as soon as you get something into aggro range of it. And so my Huntress ends up getting 3 in a row. We have got half HP to work with right now, which basically now means just a simple couple of hits with my Huntress or with my Safe Pilot or even just using a Quillbore here or there will end up doing the job. And you can see over this side, I'm going to use Quillbore here. I'm going to drop Huntress straight away to get that one, and a couple more bombs basically should seal the deal for me. You might wonder why I'm using Well Pegs to kill off the what they called the Defias Bandits. Well, it's because there's only one. It only takes out one of them, and they stops them from taking my kobold, stops them from taking the bulbs. There you go. And that is a successful win on the final boss of a red level dungeon here in Gnomeregan, and hopefully it helps you Beat it. I've got a really stuffy nose. I have to blow my nose. I'll do it after the video. Bob's your uncle. Thanks.